So what happens when people start listening to what is going on in the Magic the Gathering community? We are currently embroiled in a bit of our own Gamergate-like scenario with MagicGate. We are also seeing more controversies break with possible pedophiles in the Magic the Gathering judge program. All of these things are now coming to light as a result of my banning. And I gotta say, it's worth it. It's been worth it. And when you have legitimate journalists like the journalist that broke the Anthony Weiner scandal, Lou Calgiovanni, covering the story. This man has hundreds of thousands of followers across the world, highly respected investigative journalist. What you get is a roughly 25-page dossier of truth.
And our fourth story tonight just in. We have now learned the identity of the woman that Anthony Weiner, also known online as Carlos Danger, said he sent lewd images to after he resigned from Congress for sending lewd images to women. And yes, the messages which I have read are beyond lewd, graphic, and crude. I think that's very fair to say. An acquaintance of the woman identifies her as 23-year-old Sydney Elaine Leathers of Evansville, Indiana. Now, this gets complicated because the person who told us about this woman, Lou Colagiovanni, is a blogger. He told CNN he met Leathers on a political Facebook page that he moderated back in 2010.
So how did she meet Anthony Weiner? Lou Colagiovanni is a friend of Leathers.
She initially contacted him through Twitter. She was a fan. She said that she was a fan. I assume that based on how beautiful of a young lady that Sydney is, Anthony Weiner had no choice but to act on his instincts. Sydney loved him, but then she fell out of love with him because the idealized vision in which she had of him was not true and not the case.
Colagiovanni says the conversations quickly turned from politics to sex. This was the result. Dozens and dozens of sexually explicit text messages and photographs, including images of his anatomy that are simply too explicit to show here. Their online relationship continued for quite a while.
It's been reported in some outlets that this may have been going on for 6 months. I think it's more accurate to say it's been going on for 8 or 9, maybe even possibly a year.
We came here to Princeton, Indiana, hoping to talk with Sydney Leathers about her communication and relationship with Anthony Weiner. This is where a friend of hers, who asked not to be identified, told me she lived with her father.
That's enough. Let me state for the record here that Lou Colagiovanni is a pimp.
And while this article doesn't exactly paint me in a great light, I think it paints me in a very fair light. And that's all I ever wanted. All I want is fair treatment, and I want things to be evenly enforced. And that's where Lou and I found a common ground. And even though he didn't agree with a lot of what I had said, he was interested in the situation and a lot of the hypocrisy. And he wrote a 24-page article on it, which I will link in the description below. This article blows the lid off a ton of what's going on in the Magic the Gathering community. I'm actually going to work with him, hopefully, on the pedophile story too. That these things keep bubbling up. That WotC asked for this at gmail.com address keeps getting more and more tips. But what I wanted to do is go through a couple of the more interesting parts. I'm not going to read all 24 pages. I think you should check it out on the website, but let's take a look at it. Fortunately, I was able to get a PDF version of this so I could read it more easily. So we have Magic the Manic Hypocrisy. Now, the first part of this article gives everyone an overview, and since everybody watching this probably already has kind of a good idea of what's going on, no need to really go over that. But I think he's fair. I think if you read it, you'll see he's fair. For example, Jeremy Hambley is a polarizing figure who has a well-deserved reputation for being an asshole. He's loud, he's opinionated, and he doesn't care who approves. He commands an audience of over 180,000 YouTube subscribers on his notorious channels, MTG Headquarters. I asked him to change this, hopefully he does. And The Quartering. Hambly takes pride and pleasure in antagonizing fellow community members with criticism that is often well outside the lines of civil discourse. His enemies accuse him of being racist, sexist, xenophobic, homophobic, transphobic, Trump-loving, alt-right lunatic who uses his subscribers to bully everyone in his path for no reason other than he enjoys to get under their skin. In reality, Hambly is a leftist that views himself as a crusader pushing blunt truths to fight against the rising tide of political correctness. Don't be too taken in by Hambly's sense of righteousness. He's made a slew of comments that will make you think twice about supporting his cause. So you can see, I think he covers this fair. Nothing he wrote about me, I think, did I like jump out of my chair and get really mad about. He talks a little bit about cosplay. Let's go down to, because I don't want to just, he worked obviously very hard on this, but I wanted to go over a couple things that he discovered that I didn't know about. He goes in depth to the Wizards of the Coast terms of service and talks about some crazy things. The sweeping overreach in sections 2 and 3 should give all pause. I, as a man who have never played Magic the Gathering, am already in violation of these rules. Section 2 says, then even more bizarre, sections 3 command, do not harass, bully, threaten, harm, cause discomfort to other persons, including any members. For example, right? He goes on to ask the same question I've been asking, okay? What does define bullying? Aren't I, well, I'm not a journalist who earns a living writing his opinions, possibly bullying the WotC staff at this very moment? It's not like this article will cause them harm. Their members who agree with their nonsense, discomfort from being harassed. How is discomfort defined? Is that why Jeremy Hambly was banned? Because he caused discomfort to other members? And what is the solution for that? I actually did a lengthy interview with him. He asked me a lot of questions. Some of the things made it in here, some of the things didn't, and that's okay. He goes on to say, well, actually, I'll leave that. Was Hambly wrong for making this video? I don't think so. While his presentation was a failure, and I'm fairly certain he was intoxicated during this video, both are true, his overall premise was correct. Uncomfortable facts should not be silenced. Yet, Hambly isn't vindicated. Allowing Hambly to pull back the curtain on MTG's community behavior was not in WotC's best interest. WotC doesn't want to admit sexual harassment will always occur because MTG players' base is made up of players whose personalities are more likely to behave in such a way. WotC has made no public effort to address an unsolvable conundrum of antisocial internet behavior. Now let's talk about various hypocrisies perpetuated in the Magic the Gathering community. This is where it gets good. On November 28th, a group of professional Magic players signed a letter vowing to be committed to creating a great environment for anyone who wants to play. We were against pervasive cynicism and bullying. The problem, several of them who have signed have a history of questionable behavior. Owen Turtenwald signed and his fans rejoiced. He was a 2015 Player of the Year and has been inducted into the Magic Hall of Fame. Turtenwald is, in my opinion, one of the most self-centered, egotistically puffed up players in the community. I can't disagree. In 2015, he participated in what is now known as Goyfket, where he publicly bullied another player, Pascal Menard, that he tweeted, "You disgust me." Remember when he took the foil Goyf? Pascal issued his own far classier statement. Turtenwald, not missing the opportunity to expose himself further, commented on Maynard's thread with embarrassing results. His attempt at an apology had already fallen flat, and by continuing to be disingenuous, he was doing himself no favors to protect his image in the community. Here you go. You'll have that. What a nice guy, but it gets worse. Turtenwald received so much vehement criticism for his original Twitter comment and subsequent Facebook comment that he attempted to apologize again the next day and failed again. Other players who signed it was 2015 Magic Hall of Fame inductee Eric Froehlich, who also happens to be a professional Magic player. Froehlich is well known for being vindictive and ill-tempered. During 2016 tournament, Froehlich was incensed that a player whom he perceived to be a lesser skilled refused to allow him to win automatically. Instead, that player went ahead and beat Froehlich. Mr. Anti-Bullying said of the incident, "It's also not something I will ever forget. it would take multiple acts of kindness from that player before I would ever consider helping him out in the future. And I think many of my friends would feel similarly. How kind of Eric Froelich to not only vow revenge against a player, but to vow his friends would be vengeful as well. As a footnote, Froelich's spouse Athena complained about Hambly being a bully, while simultaneously being married to one. WotC justified banning Hambly by citing various posts that previously shared on social media. One of them was an interaction with a player who goes by Gem of Magic. On July 13, 39 days after Hambly's video response to Sprinkle was published, Gem of Magic accused Hambly of encouraging rape jokes and threats. Hambly fired back, "I wouldn't even rape you." That reply by Hambly was widely disseminated across the community and used as evidence by WotC to justify his bannings as if he were the initiator of the topic. Doing so is an intellectually dishonest way to frame the conversation. Gem of Magic has gone so far as to now hide the original comments from public view because she knows they were taken out of context. As such, the secondary example is the only image I have. Looks like a screenshot. It's clear Hambly's comment was meant sarcastically, and he has every right to respond with ridicule by throwing the accusation back at the accuser. Why was it the most tactful response? No, I agree. But he surely isn't claiming to desire to rape Gem of Magic, who, by the way, admitted she was aware her old comments were being tracked down. Why hide the originals? Now, what the individuals who dishonestly frame the July interaction will not show you is Gem of Magic discussing the comments on December 16th with a neutral third party where she acknowledged Hambly was not threatening her. Imagine my shock. Here she says, "I never suggested he would rape me, and I even responded to him thusly." Were the rules to be enforced evenly, Gem of Magic would be expelled for posting pornographic, demeaning, defamatory, and hateful language. If WotC seeks to create a fairer environment, they must be consistent with the rules enforcement. It will not happen as WotC would be forced to admit a mistake. even gets to one of my favorite guys. The inconsistency of WotC is not a new revelation. Editor-in-chief of Hipsters of the Coast, Rich Stein, asked after an incident in April 2007 where he saw players banned, "So where's the line? Why is there so much inconsistency? Why, or should there be more transparency?" Why indeed, Mr. Stein? In August 2017, Stein wrote about his fondness of assaulting those who disagree with him politically, because it's among American traditions like eating apple pie. Rich Stein will not be removed because his publication chirps the song of WotC wishes to hear, proving WotC is not truly against players advocating violence. Brian, the Professor Lewis, a disgraced and unemployed college professor, who had previously begged for his supporters' money, now earns hundreds of thousands of dollars in revenue, published a 20-minute video lamenting Hambly's harassing behavior. Typically, MTG players banned for life have to do something pretty heinous. He talks about Zach Jesse, a man who was banned after doing his time. The management of WotC took nearly 2 months to decide they didn't want women and children to be forced to play Magic with a convicted rapist. A wise choice, as headlines would not have been kind. Still, Jesse's banning raised the issue of former rapists who served their time not being allowed to play. Where would the line be drawn? A fair question. As a baseline, WotC should say anyone convicted of violent sex crimes is not welcome. Still, WotC decided to ban Jeremy Hambly after only 13 days of deliberation. WotC's punishment of a man who used the word rape in a YouTube video required less time to determine than the punish of a man who literally raped somebody. Well done, WotC. The judge in question is known as Manelik. 2 of his videos on YouTube spoke out against Hambly. The video began, "If you're not familiar with him, Jeremy is an asshole, a pure unadulterated piece of shit." The video went on to say, "He's everything wrong with the internet." These comments deviated well outside the stated judge rules must uphold, and here are the principles of judges. Okay? Those who interpret the final rule of the code to absolve judges of any violations on social media are incorrect. The judge code says anything that is player misconduct is always judge misconduct. Therefore, Manelik's comments violated numerous provisions of the principles of judge conduct. Before further analyzation, I will show you WotC disregarded these violations brought to their attention. Joanna K. Virtanen, chair of Judge Committee, was unfortunately and unsurprisingly not willing to take action against the Manelik. The correspondence can be read below. Hi, Joanna. So would you say to, looks like somebody sent her the video. Hi, thanks for the feedback. I do not believe there's a problem with the video you linked. So Eric replied. So you would say that a video referring to a player as a piece of shit, making false claims of abuse and harassment, and demanding that his social media accounts be banned is acceptable behavior from one of your judges. I strongly urge you to consider the repercussions of allowing this behavior from your judges and other associates while banning other players for personal opinions and beliefs. To which the head of whatever replies, I do not believe the claims of harassment and abuse are false. As far as I know, WotC banned this individual for life, and I'm perfectly okay with that. The timing of the violations are vital to note. She justified brushing aside the violations due to Hambly's sanctioning after the fact. In her mind, equaled a sum of 0. I strongly disagree with Virtanen's decision and offer her lax attitude as an example of WotC's pervasive and blatant inconsistency in enforcing their own rules. She violated the rules by not allowing a player's reputation to influence her decision, and she failed to demonstrate appropriate diplomacy. I call Virtanen to be removed from her position immediately while acknowledging she had been involved in the Magic community since 2008. Seniority should not preclude one from accountability. The rules must apply to everyone or no one. Going back to Manalik. Ooh, more on him. He continued racking up violations after calling Hambly a fuckwit. Okay, let's go on to that. I want to leave some of this so you can actually read, Now, Manalik has made a mammoth effort to conceal his identity to the world. Duty to truth and protection of innocence compels me to expose the Manalik. His true identity is John Winter, information which can be offered publicly on December 21st to anyone who dare attempt to pierce his what he believes to be, and what I prove not to be, impenetrable armor. Hubris is Mr. Winter's ultimate downfall. Apparently, Winter was profiled in March 2017. He is 32 years old and works from home as a search engine analyst. He attended Western Ontario. With a combined information of John Winter's age, hometown, university, emerged a treasure trove of ugly, hateful, condescending comments from 2011 to 2014. He published in the community newspaper comment section. How can you trust the comments were made by Manalik? The profile hits all the benchmarks. It has Winter's Twitter account linked to an MTG group and the newspaper London Free Press. It is Winter's hometown of London, Ontario. Let's see. You spend more time on here than anyone I've seen. Your life is clearly miserable and you can't handle change. You are quite pathetic. Ooh, that's not very becoming speech, Mr. Winter. Maybe just maybe this woman isn't telling the whole story because of how badly she screwed up. I'm saddened by John Winter's reluctance to believe women. Uh-oh, John, are you not respecting women? He is clearly not a trustworthy ally. You are beyond an idiot. Speaks character. It really... John Winter. Oh, Manalik. Oh, Muffin, did I hit a nerve? Feel the need to attack me on physical appearance level? You're one of the crown princes of ignorant twats I refer to. Misogynistic language by John Winter is incredibly troubling. Why is he so anti-woman? Oh my god. Oops. In closing, John Winter, a.k.a. the Manalik, is a wolf in sheep's clothing. He wishes all who disagree with him to die quickly. Mr. Winter will surely attempt to scrub these immediately from the internet, but I have taken steps to preserve all of his comments to ensure the MTG community never loses sight of this monster in their midst. Well, looks like he puts everything together about Christine Sprankle too. I've already probably shared too much of this article. Holy crap. This is the first I'm seeing of it, and it's interesting that he ends it with, particularly when a player who threatened to rape an oh, this is something I need to tell you about. There is another player. This is something I got to tell you about before I leave. He uncovers something that I didn't know. Rape and rape threats of violence are threats of violence in no place in any gaming community. A player named Lucas Florent was banned for life after he threatened to rape one of WotC's employees, Helen Bourgeau, in November 2011. Florent said he was not acknowledging the ban and that he intended to attend the MTG event, which at that time was going to be a few days after he made the statement. As a result, WotC announced that they were beefing up security for the event to protect their staff and protect their players. Florent's threat was taken seriously. And you know what happened? The strangest thing. Without any public notice, WotC reinstated Florent's ability to participate in Magic the Gathering events in September 2012. Helen Bourgeau said she was not consulted on the decision, and neither was the investigations committee. The decision to give Florent a reprieve came directly from the corporate office. Imagine that. A player who literally threatened to rape a WotC employee was reinstated without the consent of the employee, subject to the threat. If that's not the most uneven, backward, inconsistent enforcement of rules put into place for an alleged safety of players, I don't know what is. This is what happens when actual journalists investigate all of this, and I can only say this is what Wizards of the Coast asked for. This is not the end. This is just the beginning. Just wait till we look in deeper into the judge program. There are tons of skeletons there to discuss. Check out this article because it's pretty mind-blowing, and I think it's pretty fair. I hope you enjoyed this. We'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to be notified the next time I upload a video, make sure you subscribe and click that damn bell so you actually get notified. If you want to support the cause of this channel, it survives based on the amazingly gracious support of my patrons. Link is in the description if you'd like to help out.